So today we are going to start our new chapter. We're actually jumping back to the beginning of our book. You are going to need, if you do anything in the book, you are going to need your volume 1 book. Remember, that's the one that has the 1 on the side. It is chapter 1, lesson 1, and we start off talking about rates. This chapter, I think, is so important. It's like the meat, the core of 7th grade math. It's also one of those chapters that deals with everything we deal with in everyday life. Like things you don't really realize are math, we start talking about in this chapter. It's awesome. So, chapter 1, lesson 1 in the volume 1 book of our series. So, rates. A word I'm sure you've heard. It is supposed to be snowing outside. You're going to be hearing about snowfall rates a lot today. But what is a rate, really? I'm going to compare it to two other things. Ratios, which we've talked about, and I know you've talked about in previous years, rates, and then unit rates, which is a specific type. So let me start with an example, and then I'll tell you the differences. A ratio might be something like 12 boys to 11 girls in a class. Okay, if we were to compare the composition of a class, it might be 12 to 1, or a team, or something like that. A rate might be something like 6 inches in 3 hours. Maybe we're talking about snowfall. We've gotten 6 inches of snow in the past 3 hours. A unit rate would be something like 2 inches per hour, or 2 inches in 1 hour. All right, they all kind of sound the same. Let's go back and talk about what the differences are. A ratio is a comparison, but it's going to have the same labels. Now you look at that and say, but boys and girls aren't the same label. No, but we could both summarize them to be people, right? We have a specific type of people and another specific type of people. They're the same kind of thing, stuff that I can count. Okay? A rate is going to have different labels or even different kinds of labels. If I was to measure something in inches, I'm measuring a distance. If I was to measure something in hours, I'm measuring a time. Distance and time are completely different things. This is a boy people and a girl people. It's people and people. It's the same thing. But these are completely different styles of measurement. That's what we mean by different kinds of labels. Often for a rate, you're going to have time, hours, minutes, seconds, years, whatever. Doesn't have to be, but often it is. Now, if we go to our last category, it says unit rate. So this is a type of rate. You can see I have different types of units or different types of labels, but the denominator will always be 1. This unit, this word unit, means 1. Okay, sometimes we round to the units place or round into the nearest 1. We have 1 unit or 1 group of things. Okay, so if you can do rates, you can do unit rates because you're just going to get it down to 1. I would argue that this is probably the most common type, and you probably don't even realize that we use it because we usually say 2 inches per hour, and that 1 is kind of assumed. You know, mathematicians are lazy. We drop off the 1 whenever we possibly can. We don't even say per 1 hour a lot of times. We just say per hour. Okay, so you use these all the time and you probably don't even realize it. All right, let's talk about this. Per, of course, is your fraction bar. Little teeny tiny word that we use all the time and we don't even realize it's mathy, but it is. Per is the fraction bar. I'm going to give you the biggest piece of advice. Let the words set it up for you. Slow down, listen to what's coming out of your mouth, and let the words set it up for you. Let's do some examples. All right, Adrienne biked 24 miles in 4 hours. If she biked at a constant speed, we can't assume that because we know in real life that's not going to happen. You're not going to go the same speed for 4 hours. But for the sake of this problem, let's assume that she went the same speed. How many miles did she ride in 1 hour? Okay, let's go with the words. How many miles in 1 hour? Miles in hours. So let's go back to our original up here. And we're going to do 24 miles Keep your labels, they're super helpful. In or per 4 hours. I abbreviated because I ran out of space. That's her original rate. But we want the unit rate, right? It asks for 1 hour. All right, so let's do an equivalent fraction. If we divide this by 4, I get 1. If I divide this by 4, I get 6. So to answer the question, she rode 6 miles in 1 hour, or 6 miles per hour is how we would usually say that. Now, it's real easy when you're out and about. You're like, oh, I'm 24 miles from home. Oh, it took 4 hours to get here. And real quickly, you probably already figure out, oh, that was 6 miles an hour. We do these things because they happen so often, you don't often realize how mathy it really is. Okay, let's do some more. You might be given something that says, find the unit rate, right? So we're going to do $300 for 6 hours. Maybe you're hiring a babysitter or somebody to come, I don't know, paint your house, whatever it is. It's going to take them 6 hours and it's going to cost $300. Well, how much are you paying them per hour? What if they finish early? What if they spend extra time and you have to pay an extra hour? You want to know these things, right? All right, so let's do $300 for 6 hours. Well, I don't want 6 hours. I just want 1. All right, let's divide by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 300 divided by 6, well, think of it as 30. 30 divided by 6 is 5. And then we'll put that 0 back on. They are making $50 per hour. Or maybe that's you making $50 per hour. What if we went 220 miles on 8 gallons of gas? Took a road trip. I know it's 220 miles. Looked at my gas gauge. Looks like it was about 8 gallons. Well, let's see. 220 divided by 8. I like the labels. Now, let me show you a trick. Rather than doing 8 divided by 8 and 220 divided by 8, remember that this is also a division sign. So I'll just do 220 divided by 8. I get 27.5 miles per gallon. And I know that that gallon is going to be 1. I have a note here. I'm trying to hide from you for a second. I know that that gallon is, nope. This should be gallons. Sorry. Got all excited. I know that that gallon should be 1 because I divided by 8. 220 divided by 8, 8 divided by 8. It's just a shortcut. Okay? That's good gas mileage. All right, the last one, $2 for 8 boxes of juice. Those little juice boxes that you get. If I wanted to sell them as a fundraiser at the dance, what did they cost me each? Well, let's see. $2 divided by 8. Now, if you're good with your fractions, forget that dollar sign for a second, you know that that's 1/4. And if you're good with your fraction decimal conversions, you know it's 0.25, right? Like that. However, if you're not so good, we'll just divide and we get 0.25. And as money, that's 25 cents per box. Lots of words that we have to write that we usually just speak and don't think about. Now, I have my little note here. That's something called a unit price. A unit price is really just unit rates dealing with money. Fancy extra word you have to worry about. Not really. The same stuff. Okay. Let's talk about where we might use this. So let's say that you have to go get some dog food. And where you go shopping, they have 3 different size bags of dog food. Same stuff, just different size packaging. One is a huge bag that's probably going to take 2 of you to get it in the house, 40 pounds. One is 20 pounds, and one is a little tiny 8-pound bag that you could probably carry, no big deal. And then, of course, the price is different because if you're getting a big bag, it's going to cost you more than if you're getting a smaller bag. Okay. The question is, which has the lowest price per pound? Now, that is a very specific question, and I think it's going to set up pretty easily for you. A lot of times, they disguise this as, which is the best buy? It's not always the biggest bag, believe it or not. So let's set this up. Unfortunately, we have to do 3 problems because we've got 3 bags to investigate, but it goes quick, especially if you've got a calculator. Okay, so again, we're going to use the words. We want price per pound. Well, price is money. I'm actually going to call this bag A, bag B, and bag C, just because it's easier when I have my calculations all over the place. So let's do bag A. We want price, $49 per pound. Price per pound. I'll do the calculations in a second. Let's do B. Price, $23.44 per pound. And then let's do C. Price, $9.88 per pound. None of these are unit rates, and they're all different. I can't compare them. This is a huge bag. So by getting them down to per one, getting that one on the bottom, I'll make it so I know a price for the same amount. If I take 1 pound from here, 1 pound from here, and 1 pound from here, I'll be able to compare them because it's one. Okay? So here's my one, here's my one, here's my one. Grab my calculator. So I'm going to do 49 divided by 40. That is 1.225, about $1.22, $1.23, somewhere around there. Okay, I'm going to call it $1.23, but I'm going to leave this because it might come down to a really close thing. All right, let's do the next one. 23.44 divided by 20. I got 1.172, about $1.17 per pound. You see how I'm doing that? Okay. And then the last one, 9.88 divided by 8 equals 1.235, about $1.24 per pound. So if I was going to buy, and that's why I kept this here, because I wanted to make sure that I could compare them properly. If I wanted to buy just 1 pound, I would probably go with the center because it's only $1.17 per pound. Now I know there's like 80 bazillion different things that come into which you're going to buy. Do you have the space to store a 40-pound bag of dog food? Do you have the ability to carry a 40-pound dog of bag food? Maybe you're just puppy sitting for the weekend and you only need a little tiny bag of dog food. There's lots of different factors that go into it. But if you're looking for price per pound, this one would be the best one. I know it's only a couple pennies cheaper, but do you know how much dogs eat? It's like feeding teenagers. Do you know how much teenagers eat? A couple pennies every meal adds up over the course of a year, over 10 years, over 20 years. All right? You have to think about big picture, and we're just looking at it on a 1 pound basis. Okay? So let the words guide you. Set it up so that you get it down to one. Use division. Calculators are fine. You're going to do rates and unit rates, and then you'll have unit price. This would be a unit price because it was just down to per pound.